Or color. Like, why did we drop the U that Europeans and Canadians and stuff use for things like color and
Because yous are stupid. Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
what pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like, them.
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. But sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?
Right over.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm trying to summarize, and the more I think about the storyline, it's sort of a really wonky storyline. Like, oh, they're brother and sisters, but they're living on two different planets, and one's a queen and one's a farmer, and they're living. The son is actually living with the uncle with the same last name. So when Vader finds out, oh, Luke Skywalker is causing trouble. Skywalker, that name rings a bell.
Wait, there's a guy just down the road with that same name. I never put that together. Who knows? Maybe, at that point in time, like way in the future, Skywalker's a fairly common name, like Smith.
Could be.
You never know. Never know.
I mean, I suppose, like, if you think about it, there's probably a couple billion people on each planet, so to know someone specifically is quite rare.
But the problem is, Mike, your logic is flawed because
Oh, no, it's not.
it was a long time ago, not in the future.
Well,
That's
but
true.
they're in the future from us. It was a
No, it's set in the past.
No, who knows?
That was a really interesting decision by Lucas, too, don't you think? Like, I get the whole far, far away, but a long time ago,
I mean, why not? We don't know any better of what happened a long time ago in a distant galaxy.
that's true, I suppose.
True. We have no clue. None.
I mean, not like we do now, because we know everything that's happening in all the galaxies now, and because we're that good.
Sure. I like that Star Wars has dominated the opening of our Christmas extravaganza episode.
Yay!
Extravaganza!
Well, hello everybody, and welcome. This is What Do We Know?
I'm Mark.
I'm Mike.
I'm Jeff, and it's
Yeah.
and it's a new intro that apparently worked, which will never happen again. So, I do have to. I'm gonna go through. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this study or not, but I'm gonna look through my text messages from Mike here for a second.
From me?
From you, because I don't get any from Mark since he lives out there, and
I don't like you, so I don't think you at all.
so it looks like you're back and forth on whether you're a sincere person or not.
Okay. I'll roll with it.
Yeah. So there was a study that came out that basically said that in text messaging, the use of punctuation, especially the period, makes you seem insincere if you use a period at the end of your sentences.
When you're
Okay.
texting someone?
So, number one, I don't know. I guess if I was an insincere person, I would tell you that that's not true. But what I take exception with on this point is that you have many text messages from me that don't use perfect punctuation because I'm pretty kind of strict on that.
But you're strict on not using it or on using it?
No, I use it all the time.
So that means
now I
you're
have- Now I
means
have
you're
to look back at
insincere.
your text messages and see if there was ever a time I didn't use good punctuation.
Let me see. I can find one probably from today that you didn't. Yep. No, wait, nope. That's you. That was me. That was me not having the good punctuation. No, yeah, you're right. I read this wrong. You're always insincere.
Yeah, I'm always insincere.
Always insincere.
There might be a misspelled word or something because there's a couple autocorrects I'm seeing in our strand. But yeah, look there's all punctuation there.
What do you think about a study like this? Because I'm trying to get to the bottom of why they thought that the use of punctuation made something sound insincere as opposed to the other way around.
I think I got it.
You got it. What's your thought on this?
This is what I figure is, and I do this quite a bit too. When you type something to, let's say, an email or a message on Facebook or whatever, do
Hmm.
you ever stop and like reread what you write before you send it and make sure, like, well, does it make sense? Is the words that I'm writing is an actual sentence? Does it have a period? Does it have punctuations? Do you actually think about what you're writing? That makes you less sincere than a person that just basically types whatever comes to their head, right? So if you're just a person like a thought comes into my head and I type it on the board and I send it without even a second thought, you're not going to have as much punctuation. You're not going to have as much, correct
I don't
grammar.
buy that. I don't buy that at all because with Jeff, like I'm totally comfortable when I'm sending him a text, and I'd never ever reread what I send to Jeff. But so number one, I just always have used punctuation anyway. And number two, with like I have an iPhone, so you don't even have to practice good punctuation with an iPhone. You just double space and it automatically puts a period on the end of your sentence.
Does it really? I
Yeah.
wonder if my Android will do that. I never really actually tried that before. Which that is weird then, because then if I mean iPhone's got a huge percentage of the market share out there. Let me see if my Android does it. Blah blah blah. Space space. Oh, it does too. So if I just double space in my, so that means
Yeah.
in
Don't have
most
to
phone
add-
technology that's out there, if I just put a double space, it's going to automatically put a period on there, and therefore that would make me think the results of this study are like
Well,
erroneous.
of course, you didn't know about this, so maybe a lot of people, they don't know about this either. So,
But I mean, but the point is, I guess it would have. Well, I guess you'd have to double space though, which you're in theory, according to like true APA format, you're supposed to double space after a period anyway.
I was just going to ask this. What are your opinions on putting a double space after a period? Because I
So,
know some people are like, they don't care. But
so go on. I'm curious to
like,
hear yours.
it's ingrained into me, like, as a student. So I can't help but have that be the right way.
And I would agree exactly with what you said. Is that it's ingrained into me. Whoa, that was weird. It was ingrained into me so much because of the fact that um, when I took one of my original, the first time I learned about that, it was one of a typing class in like middle school. And it was
Right.
games that you little words came down from the sky and you had to type them. And as you got progressed through the levels more and more, it started
I
adding
remember
things
that
like
game.
yeah, it started adding things like punctuation to it, and the things would get longer, so you'd have to type out a full sentence or a couple sentences at once. And I
Mhm.
used to always get after the period, everything else in the sentence was wrong because I would only put one period, and then it would take my typing as being like one character off because it was expecting that double space. So
Um,
for the sake of playing the game and winning at the game, it got ingrained into my mind that you have to double space after a period.
So I just somewhere along the line learned the period double space,
yeah.
and I'm like very like sort of in all my life, like some people might label it OCD to some extent, but I'm very sort of methodical and systematic when it comes to behaviors. And that's
Okay.
just one of them. Like I learned that somewhere along the line and I never break from it, which is why in my text messages, even to Jeff, somebody I don't feel like I have to
That
proofread.
you don't care about, and you just type.
It's still just ingrained in me that I have that period double space or
Okay.
I'm
But
trying
that's
to
taught
look
at
up.
school as well, right? Because like when you were taking typing or computer typing, that's what they told you to do.
yeah, somewhere in school I learned that.
I think they just stopped teaching that, and that's why people are sort of switching to the single space after a period.
Well, it's kind of weird too because I think APA format has changed, and I'm trying to read it up on it right now. The latest thing says that APA suggests using two spaces after a period to aid readability. But the thing
Okay.
is, they say it suggests it, not that it's like an APA standard. And when I did my thesis for Kettering, I
Hmm.
remember reading the rules distinctly because I was really confused because it said you can use either one or two spaces after a period as long as you're consistent. And I was
Right.
like, why would they allow you to just use one space if it's supposed to be like a double spaced thing?
Well, I mean, I guess it just makes it easier for readability, but as long as you're consistent, it makes it, you know, a lot more readable than one that's not consistent.
I will tell you, it's funny because as a professor now, I grade papers, and I get
Zeros.
papers. Well, and some papers have single spaces after the period, and some have double spaces after the period, and you very clearly can tell when you open up a document, and I'm like, this person only used one space after each period. I don't know if it's really changes the way I read it or if it helps, but it's just very obvious that that's what they've done.
Is this just yet another sign that America is ultra lazy?
It could be, but well, at the same time, America is ultra lazy in a system that shouldn't be as hard as it is in the first place. Like, why did we invent a language that is so ridiculous with like spelling and spacing and all these different rules? Like, why wouldn't you, if you're going to make up a language, why wouldn't you make it just easy to do?
Well, that's because English is made like out of like 10 different languages mangled together, and then it's continuously being added from other countries. Like, words are being added all the time. Like, oh, this is what they say in India, and then if it gets popular enough, it's either gets changed to fit the way we say it, or we keep that word the way it is. You know, like buffet, that's not British English, that's French. So that just sort of gets melded into our.
Well, why don't we just call it the
lexicon.
Buffett then? I mean, Jimmy Buffett's Buff. He's not Jimmy Buffet. He's Jimmy Buffett.
Well, that's, you also get like British English versus American English, and you get like vitamins versus vitamins.
Or color. Like, why did we drop the U that Europeans and Canadians and stuff use for things like color? And
Because U's are stupid.
U's are stupid. Like, why did humor
Oh.
not become HUM? Oh, I guess it's humor
O-U-R.
is it OR or is it OU? I don't even know how to spell humor off the top of my head now. I guess it is OR.
Yeah.
But interesting. But then why do we have words like, especially, and I want to look this up before I say it, but like the word phonetic?
Yeah.
How do you spell phonetic?
PHONIC.
That's phonic.
Oh,
but yes, you're on the right track.
Maybe an S somewhere.
With how it starts. But what is the definition of something being phonetic?
It's
Sounds like how it's
the
spelled.
way
Yes, it sounds like how it's spelled, but we have the word that means that is phonetic, which is an F sound for a
It's
PH
not
word.
spelled correctly.
I mean, that's like, is that the definition of irony or is that coincidence? I would think that's the definition of irony, correct?
Well, what's ironic is that this whole time, ever since it happened, is that I'm sitting over here just not really paying a whole lot of attention.
'Cause you're
I'm more
looking at
stewing
your
over the
text
fact that
messages.
Mark's "you" comment may have already won podcast quote of the show.
yeah.
I'm
Okay.
upset.
Well, how about,
I'm gonna mail in the rest of the show at this point because I got nothing else going for me.
think of the word cent. Okay, and how it's spelled.
Which
S-
one?
CENT, cent.
No.
Dollar and cent.
SENT, like you smell, right?
Okay.
Now, is it a
SENT is not that you smell, though. SENT is I mailed a letter. SCENT.
yeah, and that's what I meant. SCENT.
Think of it right there. There's 3 different words that are the exact same word.
Yeah, let's
spelled
take that
different
word.
ways.
Yeah. So in this case, SCENT, is the C an S sound or is it a silent letter?
So are you saying like is the S silent or is the C silent essentially?
Well, because the C could also make an S sound, right? So is it
Yeah,
just
like
an
like
S-
in dollars and cents.
Yeah, like SSENT sound? Or is it an actual silent C sound?
I don't know. Actually, I never really thought about that. Or is it really supposed to be skint? Like, we just
People got
skint.
lazy.
I feel like "skint" would be my new favorite word.
Skint.
Oh, I learned that the ampersand, like the and,
Mhm.
like the special,
A with a circle around it.
I don't actually have an
No,
American
that's not the
keyboard.
ampersand.
So is it
That's
like
an at
shift
sign.
6 on your
Oh,
keyboard?
So
The ampersand?
shift not shift 6, it's shift 7 on
7.
mine.
Oh, anyways, that used to be in the alphabet. Like
Really?
it used to be Z and ampersand.
Wh-
How
Weird.
weird is that? Like you used to
Wow.
say like A B C D F, and then uh, X Y Z and ampersand.
Wait, really? What word is that supposed to be
Yeah.
in?
How long ago? When did this happen?
This happened, I don't know, a long time ago, but like it. I think it was actually a combination of two letters that joined to make one letter, and then it used to be in the alphabet, but then it eventually got dropped off.
That's strange.
Yeah, that's very strange.
Like, it, and then in our language we have things like vowels because a vowel has to be in every single word. But then they had to add the and sometimes Y part. Like, why is Y just not a vowel all the time? Why would you
Y
have it
is like a
sometimes be a
super
vowel?
letter.
It's
Yeah.
it's consonant, but sometimes a vowel. It's like the cross-dressing letter in the
Yeah,
alphabet.
I was just gonna say the
It's-
Y is the Caitlyn Jenner of the alphabet.
Yeah, but it just doesn't even make sense. Like, just say it's a vowel, A-E-I-O-U and Y, because then it just fits every case that you have it out there for. It
But-
can be the consonant, like a consonant. It doesn't have to be like I just the word read. Why would the word read, like as in read a book? Why is it not readed? I readed something to say you did it in the past, as opposed to taking the exact same base word and pronouncing it differently for some odd reason. I read something. I read something. That's the same spelling. Like,
Mm.
I feel like this is a super weird Christmas extravaganza.
Merry Christmas.
so why is Christmas not K?
Well, you could also make the argument if you want to make Christmas. Why is Christmas in December? Because it really,
Isn't
a lot
that-
of people who have actually researched it thinks that Jesus was born, if he was born, in September, closer to September.
oh, really?
I think it had something to do with like the way the calendar was structured at the time. Like it threw it off, and once they realized that it was thrown off by several months, it became this whole thing about changing the.
I mean, all I can imagine is Jesus up in heaven be like, yeah, belated birthday. Thanks a lot, everyone. Every single year.
Well, and why is Easter? Maybe you know this, Mark, because of being religious. But why is Easter a moving holiday? Because isn't it supposed to talk about the resurrection?
Right.
Like, isn't it the basis of it? Didn't the resurrection
Well, I think-
happen on a
well,
day?
I'm pretty sure Easter is actually on the wrong day as well.
Yeah.
Like
I
it's
mean,
several days
every
off.
year it's on the wrong day.
Yeah.
Because it changes every year. It's like always different.
Well, actually,
Except
Easter
that it's
is
Sunday.
is a reflection of the Jewish Passover. So I think it's actually related to Passover. So it's whenever Passover plus so many days.
Yeah, it's like
So I
10
think that's
days.
why it changes all the time.
So does Passover? Is it supposed to be like back in history? Did Passover, whatever it's celebrating exactly, happen at a specific time, or does it move every year? Like I just don't understand when you have moving holidays. That makes no sense to me.
It
Moving
was
holidays
like-
that are based on history, not something like Martin Luther King Jr. birthday that we kind of put in there and we celebrate at around the same time. That's different than something based on a historical event.
So I think it's okay. So this is my explanation, right? First, all these religious holidays are basically made in competition with other religious holidays. So it actually really has no really significance in the date that it's given. So like you could say Christmas was basically set to fight the winter solstice or whatever holiday that pagans
We're
used to
fighting the winter
Just
solstice.
fighting.
Right, right.
The big
It's like-
battle
yeah,
of
used
the
to have
winter
pagans that
solstice.
used to celebrate.
that winter solstice.
Jesus
And
versus
they
the
like-
winter solstice.
Well, what was Easter? Easter is
Sunday.
No,
Sunday.
no.
It's,
The
Yeah, it is.
pagan religion.
it's fighting the Thursday that Thanksgiving has a hold of.
So there's another pagan religion that's around Easter as well, which is also near the spring solstice. So you'll actually find out a lot of religious holidays has to do with like equinoxes and all that stuff. But basically, whenever you had a set of people like celebrating a holiday, like around Halloween, like All Saints Day was just basically made up to combat another religious holiday. And they're like, no, no, no. Instead of, celebrating this thing, why don't you celebrate our thing that happens just around the same day? And then you won't be like thrown to lions if you don't believe my religion. So you get like a double plus.
Interesting.
Well, I just so happen to have a fun Christmas game for you guys,
Oh.
if you're interested.
Okay.
Does it have to do with what days things fall on? Because I think we might fail.
No, no, it's not going to be that. So, I have two stories. One of them is 100% true from my family Christmas ago. One of them is false. You guys have to figure out which one is true, actually happened, which one is false.
Okay.
Okay? This, by the way, this is going to shed a lot of light onto my family and the conditions I was raised. All right, so one Christmas, we were gathered together at my grandmother's house. My aunt, who you guys I think are aware of, my kind of kooky, crazy aunt.
The one with the cats?
Yes. Well, she doesn't have them anymore, but yes, at the time she probably had cats.
I only remember because it was like the fattest cat that I've ever seen. Like it was like a good 20-pound cat.
Yeah, that's right. That is the aunt. I was house sitting once, and Mark was hanging out with me. We were playing video games or something.
And she thought you guys were a gay couple.
No, that was my grandmother.
Oh, that was your grandma. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that was my grandmother. But we were at her house, and so for years and years, when I was young, my aunt would like play Santa, and she'd put on this Santa hat, and she would pass out the presents at like our family, Christmas morning celebration or whatever. So one year, as my aunt was getting older, she didn't want to do that anymore because it was hard to walk around people, and she's just getting older. So she asked my sister if she would do it, and my sister said yes. Well, my aunt told her that the way this was going to go down was that at the family gathering, my aunt was going to make basically like a speech about how, she's really enjoyed being quote unquote Santa for all these years and passing out presents, but it's time for her to pass on the torch. And at this point, she was going to take off the Santa hat and put it on my sister, and my sister was going to then pass out gifts. My sister said, "I'll be Santa, but I'm not doing that." So there was a lot of back and forth on this, and my sister kept, "No, we're not going to do that. That's kind of weird. I don't mind passing out presents, but we're not going to, let's leave that part out, okay?" And my aunt agreed to leave it out. Well, come Christmas morning, she didn't leave it out. And long story short, it turned into a giant argument, which then led to a fist fight on Christmas morning between my sister and my aunt. Sprawled out in the middle of my grandmother's living room in a fist fight Christmas morning.
Your aunt, who was too old to be Santa anymore, was having a fist fight with.
Yeah, the one that wasn't fit enough to be Santa.
Your sister just waited. She saw her opportunity to take her down, and she was like, "If I wait long enough."
Well, when we talk about, this is my crazy aunt again, who always thinks she's sick or something's always the matter with her, had these weird medical condition for years and years and years. She saw every doctor in the world, all the way to the Mayo Clinic, and everybody said, "There's nothing wrong with you. You're just making this up," basically. She insisted there was something wrong. There's always something wrong with her. And by the way, she's only 50 years old at this point. Like, she's not an elderly woman. She's 50, she can pass out some presents, whatever. So anyways, and my sister was like maybe 20 at the time, something like that. Could my sister have had some alcohol Christmas morning before coming over? That's possible. I'm not gonna rule that out. So, all right, that's story number one.
Okay, story number one is ingrained in the mind. It sounds like it could be a true story. We'll listen to the other one and find out.
So, story number two, my dad lives up north, and he lives, and so we're from the Flint area or whatever. Mm-hmm. And right now I live approximately 40 minutes south of the Flint area. And my dad is 2 hours north of Flint. So one year, this wasn't actually Christmas morning. It was either Christmas Eve like evening, or maybe even the day before Christmas Eve evening, whenever we found time to get together on that side of the family, with my stepsister and stepbrother and all their kids and my sister and my dad and stepmom. Well, anyways, we had decided we were going to have a fish fry at my stepbrother's house in the Flint area. So my dad insisted that they couldn't use my stepbrother's stove for some reason. I can't remember why at this point he didn't want to use their stove. So at his house up north, he has these two like camping stoves and these big like cast iron, I don't know, pot things that he fries fish in. He lives on a lake. He catches fish all the time, fish fries. He has them all the time, whatever. So we already had this set up. Well, anyways, we talked about having this fish fry forever. And somewhere along the line, the plans got changed, but he didn't get told that we weren't doing a fish fry anymore. We were doing something else.
But he was the one bringing the fish?
He was bringing the fish and his whole cooking stove set up and his pots and pans and everything. And he packed all this up, lugged it 2 hours south, had it set up because my stepmom had gone in the house. Everybody was in the house and she was talking with them or whatever. When that time, my dad he waited to go in the house till he had drug all his stuff out of the van, got it all set up and ready to go. Then he went in the house only to find out that we weren't doing a fish fry anymore. So that was pretty early on in the evening. He then proceeded to drink almost an entire half gallon of whiskey.
Okay, this sounds truthful.
My dad is a big boy, and he can drink a lot of whiskey. That's a lot of whiskey for
Who's a big boy? Who's a big boy?
Yeah. Well, he's a real big boy. He's like pushing 350. He's a big dude. And he drank all this whiskey, got completely annihilated, was just sitting in a chair like this, like all night long, just with his head down. His eyes were open, but he was just sitting around like this, barely interacting with anybody, okay? So smash cut to, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours later or something. We're sitting around playing a game called Categories. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, you just sit in a circle and you can throw out any kind of category, like breakfast cereals. And you just go around in a circle naming a brand of breakfast cereal until you can't name one anymore. If it gets to your turn and you don't have a breakfast cereal in mind, you're out. And it just keeps going around the circle until there's only one person left, and then they get to pick the next category. Sorry, Mark, were you going to say something?
He said tricks.
No.
I was thinking Cheerios. Count Chocula. Blueberry.
So we're sitting around having a few barley pops and playing categories. My dad's completely annihilated on whiskey. And we end up with the category of bar food or favorite bar food. And it goes around and gets to my dad. And he's sitting there in his chair like this. He goes, pussy. This is Christmas evening party on my dad's side. My stepmom, totally appalled, like her face just got huge, eyes got absolutely huge. He ended up within 20 minutes of that puking in my stepbrother's pool and going inside the house and passing out on the couch. So you have story A.
So story B, it could have all been resolved if they just would have ate fish.
Yeah.
That's
Or even if they didn't eat fish,
had at least told him that they weren't.
Told him and saved him all the work of lugging all his stuff.
So we're trying to decide how awful your family is.
So
just to recap, story A, the passing of the Santa hat resulted in a fist fight between my sister and my aunt. Or story B, my dad getting entirely drunk and making inappropriate comments at Christmas categories game and puking in a pool and passing out on the couch.
So the things that I'm trying to nitpick out of these stories here to determine truth or not is, does your stepbrother have a pool? Because that could make this whole thing false if it's just the fact that he
That's
doesn't have a
that's what he's
pool.
gonna lie about.
It's yeah, so I mean, like the whole story happened, but there's one detail, like it wasn't whiskey, it was like it was rum or something like
My
that.
stepbrother absolutely has a pool.
Because what I'm trying to think if it would be inappropriate for me to wonder if you're completely messing with us and they're both true. Because
They're
that's
not both true.
they're not both true, huh?
And they're both true, but it was Mike Jernigan that did the fighting, the throwing up.
Because they're pretty elaborate and well thought out stories. So some elements of them have to be true in some way, shape, or form to have the methodology there in your head to think about.
Oh,
You wanna
I'm
go
all
first?
in heads.
You wanna go first?
I'm gonna go with the Santa hat being false.
Oh, really? I'm the other way. I think A is true.
You think it is true? So I know that we've talked about before that your dad drinking an excessive amount of alcohol. So
You could substitute anybody in my family for that.
right.
You'd pretty much be okay.
The Santa thing, it sounds so ridiculous that it might be true because it's just so random. But at the other one just has more elements of things that I can definitely associate with you telling a story about your family. They both do. I mean, I can see them both happening.
So you want to know my reason for why I think B is false?
Yes.
I just can't think of a Christmas gathering where somebody's like, "Let's make fish and chips." Like that's the only thing is the fish fry. I don't know if that's believable.
Like I said, it wasn't like actual Christmas Day, and I'm not even 100% sure it was Christmas Eve. It might have been the night before Christmas
I
Eve.
still don't believe it.
Okay, but let
Fish
me.
is out of season.
No, he ice fishes all winter long. Are you kidding me? But you are
It's
talking
better to
about
ice fish in the winter than the summer.
you're talking about my family, which I literally am wearing a button-up shirt because I just came from a Christmas party where we ordered Hungry Howie's pizza, and that was
Oh,
our
that's believable.
dinner.
Nice. We don't have Hungry Howies out here. It makes me sad. I like Hungry Howies. Flavored crust.
Yeah.
So good.
So okay, so Mark, you're saying A is true, and Jeff, you're saying B is true.
Correct.
Okay. A is the true Christmas story.
Yes.
So,
I knew
we're-
B
However-
sounded fishy.
However, Jeff, you said B sounds accurate. B is absolutely accurate, but it didn't happen anywhere near Christmas. It was actually June.
okay, that's the other thing I was thinking was, is he really going to cook outside over the Christmas time frame? Which that makes
Well-
Mark's whole theory pretty much correct.
No. So my dad's cooking setup is in a garage that's not heated. He cooks outside all winter long to
Okay.
fry fish. But this happened in June, and it was a family vacation that we all took to North Carolina. So it actually makes hauling all that gear much worse because
So he took it all the way to North Carolina,
Yes. Yep. So
and nobody bothered. Did he really think that there was a legit plan for this, and people just forgot to tell him, or were people like, "Hey, we're gonna make him carry all this equipment"?
I don't really know how he didn't know. I'm not sure if my stepmom was not made aware of it, or she just forgot to tell him, or because I can envision like him just doing the packing without her being involved with that and not seeing it and thinking she told him. I'm not really 100% clear on how they made it all the way to North Carolina and him not knowing. But yeah, that all happened, and we were at a beach house where he did puke in the pool. And
Oh, you called it, Jeff. Only a small detail changed.
I figured it was going to be something similar like that, because you just the things that you were either really good at making up stories and making it sound like they're like legitimate, but the way you were like piecing other details based on our questions, I was like, man, elements of this have to be true in some way, shape, or form for this to happen.
date, just the date was the only thing wrong with that one.
I've never actually been to like none of my family gatherings usually end up too crazy like that. We did the worst one that I've dealt with in my family, and I just like got the hell out of there when my grandma died. we went to New York for the funeral, and I drove in from DC, and the rest of my family, drove in from Michigan. I think I was in New York for a grand total of like 8 hours. I got in there late in the night of the funeral, woke up, went to the funeral, and then the family had a huge fight about something that was happening with the finances of the funeral. And my parents were like, pack up your shit, we're getting out of here. And I was like, okay, guys, see you later. Head back to DC. Just another 8-hour drive I'll add to this lack of sleep.
Wow.
But it was nothing as crazy as like fist fights over Santa hats.
Isn't that a silly thing to have a fist fight about?
Why did your sister not want that ceremony? Pass the torch, man.
It's my sister. Who knows?
It is your sister.
No.
Your family is very woman-powered for this woman Santa thing. I have to make sure torch passed to another woman.
I don't know. Well, I just think she was the easy option at the time because I had Hannah. I had already had my first daughter. So I was kind of, with her, watching her, doing whatever. She was just the next logical choice, I think.
Well, was it one of those things where it was just like the adults gathered? Because I thought it would be a little bit weird. You have 3 and 4-year-olds and like, I'm no longer Santa. I'm passing the actual Santa Claus position to the next person in line.
Well, I mean, it's not like she ever dressed up like Santa other than the hat. Like, it was just a proverbial Santa, but, I don't know.
And Mike's family is smart enough. The kids all know about proverbial meanings of things.
I don't know what could have possibly seemed so important that wound up with a fist fight in the middle of the living room floor about that ceremony, but who knows? Apparently it was very meaningful.
I think it'd be really funny if Hannah, when she was young, went to the mall and was like, Dad, look, it's Sissy. Like, the mall Santa thought it was your sister. Like,
so, all right, guys. Well, let's get out of here. Everybody have a good Christmas.
no fist fights over Santa. If somebody wants to pass the torch, just accept
Hopefully
it.
nobody's fist fighting over Santa hats.
And if somebody lugs fishing stuff, like fish fry stuff all the way to North Carolina, eat some damn fish.
That's right. That's right. Cook fish. It's save puking in pools.
All right, everybody. We'll
Merry
see
Christmas, guys.
If I can stop this recording.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart, but sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?